Alright, so today I want to talk about the newly revealed 2017 Yamaha R6 in my thoughts and opinions and impressions, and also newer bikes in general, like the new CBR 600 look, the CBR 1000, and just how I feel about some of the newer way the bikes are looking. So yeah, they just unveiled the new Yamaha R6, and right away the first thing you'll notice is aesthetically it looks a lot like the R1. The front end's very similar. Just the whole look of the bike, you know, they're definitely trying to make it look like the R1's little brother. And personally, I don't even like the way the R1 looks. Like the older R1, what was the last year they did? 2014? I think that looks significantly better than the 2015 R1. I think the 2014, it looked like a pissed off Hornet. It looked just like really angry and aggressive. The new one, it reminds me of like a Frankenstein type, like, just looks weird to me. I mean, I know it's a subjective opinion, but when people say the R1 looks so much better now, or like they really like the way the changes they made and the direction they're going with it and how it looks and everything, I just scratch my head. Like, I don't know how anyone can just have a side-by-side of the 2014 R1 and the 2015 R1 and say, oh yeah, the 2015 one looks a lot better. Oh my goodness, what the hell is this? Pass. So yeah, print out two pictures of the 2015 and the 2014, put them side by side, and just go downtown and just start taking a survey. Just hold them up and ask, which bike do you think looks better? Just go to random people, which bike do you think looks better? And I feel like most people, just at a quick glance, are gonna think the 2014 looks better. I just think it does. I don't know how you can't think the 2014 doesn't look better. And same with the new R6. I think if you did the same test and put the what's the new one, the 2017 next to the 2016 or 2015, and ask random people who have no experience with motorcycles, just ask them what looks better. I don't know how more people are going to say that the new 2017 looks better than the 2015 or 2014. I just feel like that's an objective thing almost. Like, it just looks better. I don't know. The new one just looks like a big mechanical machine. It doesn't really have any, like, personality look to it. Wow, that guy was, like, pretty far over. So yeah, I think just aesthetics alone, the older generation of the Yamahas, both the R1 and the R6, look significantly better. And I really feel like you could just take surveys of random people just based off looks alone, and more of them would probably say the older generation looks better than the newer generation. And that's kind of like another like philosophical issue I have. Especially nowadays, people just kind of tend to think, you know, newer equals better. Like, they don't take any actual, like, opinion or anything they have from themselves. It's just, oh look, this is the new bike, this is better, automatically better. This is the new anything, you know? They don't really have a lot of, is the word reverence for older stuff. It's just, you know, for whatever reason, this looks better. And I think that goes for the new CBRs as well. I'm not a huge, I like Hondas. I had Honda dirt bikes. I have a Honda Grom, but I didn't really like the way the CBRs, I mean, I like the way the older, like maybe the 08 or the 2012s, a couple generations ago, how the CBRs looked. I'm just just gonna turn around and bomb this hill, to be honest. Real close to knee dragging. Feels good. Makes me feel better. Here, look, gravel. Ooh, slippery. So yeah, I didn't really like the CBRs. At least they're not. Out of all the Japanese super sports, I think they're like, for looks, kind of like near the bottom. For looks, I think first, I think the Yamaha, the old, like I said, the older generation R6s look the best out of any super sports Japanese. Then the GSXR, which is what I have. Then the Kawasaki. Then the Honda. And I really feel like the new look of the Honda, like the front end headlight, it just looks dopey. It looks dumb. It doesn't look smart or fast or sophisticated. It just looks dumb. I don't know. There's some kind of rumor that they're discontinuing the 600s. Their sales aren't doing good. But then I heard that's only in Europe. But if it's true, I mean, I think it's because the way it looks. I think it doesn't look good anymore. And then, you know, what else is coming on the newer bikes? Even the 600s, they're putting traction control and ABS. I've had to do some quick stops on this like once or twice, like really abrupt stops, and I've never had my brakes lock up on me. I've never had my tires slide at all. As far as traction control, I think one time I was going down this road and it must have been oil or just something slick on the road, and I tried to do a wheelie and my tire spun. But it wasn't like, oh my, like it wasn't a big deal at all. I wasn't scared or felt like I was in danger of crashing whatsoever. It just spun out a little bit. So I would never want ABS or traction control on a 600 at least. I can see it on the bigger bikes. You don't want. There's a lot more power there, a lot more low end, where this is all like upper, like, you know, over 10,000 RPM. That's where all the torque and power is. So that makes sense, but I've never had an issue on a 600 with wheel spin or my brakes locking up, ever. So, I don't know, I just feel like that's a way they can like justify. I know the new Yamaha is going to be like $1,000 or $2,000 more, so I feel like that's just a way they can justify the new price. It's not that I don't want a different look for the bikes, like I didn't want to, you know, they could update. That's the thing, people are like, oh, this is the only look that they could have gone with. Like, you just don't like, you just like the old way, you know, you don't like change, you don't want the new look to the bike. I don't know. And that's not true. It's not that I don't want a new look to a bike, it's just, it could have been better. There were some like leaked, quote unquote leaked pictures, but it was really just like Photoshop. And they had some sweet looking, I think there was a leaked picture for the CBR 1000 Fireblade or whatever it's called. It looked badass. There was a leaked picture for the R6 that was fake that looked super badass. So you can change the aesthetics of the bike, you can change the look, but you can make it look, you can improve upon what you already have. And they just kind of did a completely different direction. So yeah, you can have a new look to a bike and still, you know, like a new look that I would really like for any bike. And you know, Suzuki and Kawasaki can still do that. They can still change up the GSXR. There's a couple things they can make a change on the current model GSXR, because I think it's the same as this 2014. They're still doing exactly everything the same, which is fine with me. But they could change up the headlight a little bit, make it like maybe more edgy and like slanted, smaller. So I'm repeating myself here, but just to clarify, it's not like I don't want to change, or I don't want to see a new look, or I hate change and I just want the same thing over and over. That's not true. There's totally new redesigns they can do that I would really like, or I would think would be an improvement on what they've already done. But I don't think that's the case, and I don't think that's where they're going with this. And a lot of people, some people agree, some people disagree. And like I said before, I think some people just completely disagree without any real opinion, you know? It's just, oh, it's the new Yamaha, it's the new look, bro. Like, it's awesome, that's where it's at. And I'm not against like electronics. I am against in a 600 ABS and traction control. I really think that's unnecessary. One of the things that made me get this bike over an R6 was it came stock with an electronic, I don't know if you can see it down in there, a steering damper, steering stabilizer. And that's kind of like a safety feature. I mean, I've had it on dirt bikes. I've never had it on a street bike. I've had whatever you want to call it, tank slappers or steering wobble on a dirt bike at high speeds, and it's pretty scary. And that's something I really don't want to deal with on a bike like this that's doing, you know, upwards of 120 miles per hour. I don't want to get into that situation of a tank slapper. So that's like an electronic feature I really appreciate, and actually made me get this over an R6. I was at the dealership and they had this. This was in 2014. They had this or a year leftover R6, and I basically told the guy, I was like, you know, if I can get that R6 for a little bit cheaper, you know, can you knock off, because it's you know, a year older floor model, if you can knock off like a couple $100, I'll get the R6. There was nothing like, oh, I need a Suzuki, I need a GSX-R. I like GSX-Rs, but I also like R6s a lot too. And it just basically came down to, hey, if you can knock off like 300 to 500 bucks, I'll take the R6. I like the R6s. And for whatever reason, even though it was, he had like 2 or 3 of them that were 2013s, and it was going on 2015, so they were over a year old, sitting on the floor, and you know, he didn't want to knock off a couple $100. So that's, between that and the steering stabilizer is what made me get the GSX-R.